Tensions between Iran and Israel have escalated. Both nations launched waves of air and missile strikes.
President Trump was installing 2 poles in the south and west lawns. He said a few things very casually about Iran. Now he said 2 weeks' time. In this context, how worried should all of us be of a full-blown war?
What we're likely to see is that search for off-ramps does continue. Iran continuously does want to also project that it is being reasonable, whereas Israel, on the other hand, is essentially saying this is a preemptive strike. What we are seeing is a consistent message from the MAGA OGs, if you like, the originals, saying we don't want to go near a war on Iran. A war in West Asia is not our problem. We like Israel, we'll back Israel with everything they need, but we're not getting involved in this war.
Stephen Colbert said that you're in trouble when Tucker Carlson seems like the reasonable voice.
Yeah.
Domestic politics aside, what would India's best position be right now?
You cannot aspire to be a moral power, a global power, without taking some positions. So it's a bit of a khichdi right now for India. So they're trying to keep it as simple as possible, they've issued only one statement on the conflict. They have put 4 statements on the condition of Indians in these places. India's position where it is unable, it's almost like its hands are tied, it is unable to criticize Israel, makes its policy choices a little more strained.
But now, Israel is doing preemptive strikes. And what does it mean for the future? Like, preemptive strike can be done by China on Taiwan. Why is Israel's perceived sense of security more important than anybody else?
Completely oblivious of the fact that every last hospital in Gaza has been bombed.
Yeah.
There are no hospitals left. I think there are 1 or 2 that are functional.
I am more interested to know the picture inside the Iran. After this attack, what is happening over there? We are not getting the clearer picture. What is happening inside Iran.
The Supreme Court of India has weighed in on the ban of Tamil film Thug Life in Karnataka and ruled that once a film is cleared by CBFC, it must be released. The court asserted, quote, mobs cannot dictate film screenings, unquote, and added that groups of hooligans cannot decide what plays in theatres.
Social media and the availability of avenues to sort of outrage has led to this situation. We have begun to outrage about everything.
But you have faced this even before the social media age, right? You have been at the receiving end of your outspoken nature, and even pre-internet, if I remember correctly.
When people say, okay, he's an outspoken filmmaker, I think I have to thank the Shiv Sena for it.
The ban was stupid on every level. And we don't endorse ban, even on Kerala Story, as much as I want to say that it's a good thing that it was banned to kind of, some sort of balance should be restored in the world. But that said, I don't think banning anything is a good idea. I stand by that. But all of this was because of one man's ego. It's literally boiling down to just that. Kamal could have, I'm not even going to get into whether he should have apologized or not. He could have just expressed regret. He could have taken one step back. And I know for a fact that the film chamber would have backed down.
Welcome to Chota Hafta. Now, Chota Hafta is but a small, Chota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go. अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of NL Hafta. We're recording this at 11:40 in the morning on Friday, the 20th of June. In the studio, there is Raman Kirpal,
Hello.
Shardool Katyayan,
Hello.
and joining us will be two guests later in the show, Suhasini Haider, Diplomatic Affairs Editor at The Hindu, and Hansal Mehta, a National Award-winning filmmaker. I'm sure many of you know who he is. He has made Shahid, City Lights, Aligarh, Omerta, and Scam 92, which was a series and did very well. Before we get into the headlines, I would like to announce that NL Hafta is now behind the paywall after a long stint of several weeks, actually several months, when it was outside the paywall. The Chota Hafta is available to all, but for the complete unedited Hafta, you have to be a subscriber. So you can scan this QR code or click in the link in the show notes below. So not only you get access to the entire unedited Hafta, you also get access to all our paywall content, and there is a fair amount which is, I think, worth your while for not very much. You can also contribute to a Sena project, which is India's e-waste underworld. This started as a relatively smaller story that we were pursuing, but as a reporter went and found out, it is a complete underworld, and the scam is much bigger than we had imagined, than even you imagine. You think all these phones and laptops that we dispose are safely disposed of, and e-waste is disposed of in an environmentally friendly way. You might be alarmed at this series. We were alarmed at what we found. Our reporters who went on ground, Shiv, who has done a fair bit of jasusi around the area. So this will take a while to do. You, I'm sure, saw the press conference, well, not press conference, when President Trump was installing two poles in the south and west lawns. He said a few things very casually about Iran. Now he said 2 weeks' time that where talks may or may not take place. And just to give an idea to our audience, why the US is required by Israel to really, if they want to destroy the nuclear capability, is that this facility is 90 meters or 90 feet. I think 90 meters on the side of the mountain under the earth. And even this bunker buster bomb, which weighs apparently 30,000 pounds, there's only one aircraft that is fit enough to carry it. It can only destroy stuff up to 50 to 60 meters. So it's no guarantee even this will be able to destroy it, but it's the best chance they have. So that is why Mr. Trump is weighing in whether he should send US aircrafts to destroy this. That is one aspect. And the second is the Field Marshal of Pakistan spending 2 hours talking to Mr. Trump. In this context, how worried should all of us be of a full-blown war in the Middle East, or will Iran back off?
Abhinandan, what I found on this particular issue when it comes to the US and Israel, when it comes to the US and Iran, what we tend to see is US media not necessarily giving you the 360 degrees. So they read Mr. Trump coming back from the G7, and for since Tuesday we've been told by very well-informed US media that Mr. Trump is about to sign the document which will enter America into the war against Iran, right? On Tuesday, we were told he's going to fly back. You'll hear from him tonight itself. That document is ready and he will sign it. We are now at Friday. The document has not been signed, and Mr. Trump has asked for 2 weeks of thinking time. Now, one will just only hope that in 2 weeks there won't actually be a conflict left, right? So for Mr. Trump to even say that sounds like he's trying to buy time. Secondly, he meets the Pakistani Field Marshal General Asim Munir for lunch on the day after. So he says, I'm leaving the G7.
What would you've been a foreign policy expert for a long time, and you have been one of the most respected voices in India. What do you think, and pragmatically, irrespective of which government, domestic politics aside, what would India's best position be right now? I mean, should we be expected to take a position against the war? Should we be expected to keep quiet and not condemn what's happening there?
But I will say that, India's position is difficult. I don't envy the Modi government having to take its position, but it must remember what it comes across as seeing. You cannot aspire to be a moral power, a global power, without taking some positions. And when India now goes the other way in terms of not condemning or criticizing Israel when it comes to unilateral strikes on nuclear installations. I mean, even the UN and the IAEA have issued such strong statements that you never bomb a nuclear installation, regardless of the context, regardless of the reason for it. Secondly, India has not really spoken about the civilian casualties in any great form. Thirdly, India has broken with everyone. What's going to be really interesting to watch, Abhinandan, is the BRICS summit in Brazil. That's on July 6th and 7th. Prime Minister Modi is scheduled to go there. And it's not like the G7 where you're an outreach member. It's okay if you don't join the statements. Like the G7 issued a statement critical of Iran and backing Israel. But India was an outreach member. It didn't have to actually take part. But in BRICS, it is a proper member. And remember, UAE, Saudi Arabia, not to mention Iran itself, are new members in BRICS, where Russia, China, Brazil, South Africa, the global south, is very clearly very critical of Israel. So it's going to be interesting to watch what happens when Prime Minister Modi goes to Brazil. He's confirmed that he is going to go. Unofficially, they have not yet announced that visit. So I think that will be worth watching to see if India does take a position there.
But is BRICS still a thing? Sorry, Shardool, I'll just come to you. I mean, is BRICS, Trump spoke rather dismissively about BRICS just when he had taken office a few months ago.
Why? My question is, or at least my bewilderment is, why is Israel's perceived sense of security more important than anybody else? Like no country in the world lives in complete harmony and sense of safety. Everybody has problems with their neighbors, with their geopolitical partners and adversaries. Why is Israel's safety prioritized over everybody else? And public, they are hitting civilians again and again and again. And they are getting away with it. And the other part is,
so this entire, tamasha with the Supreme Court settling matters, saying that mobs cannot be allowed to dictate what will be released. And it was very nice that the Supreme Court used exactly those words, that mob rule cannot be, cannot determine what film is released where. I don't know whether we followed, because now one hears that the producer will not release it. Certain theaters say we will not carry it because they are afraid, etc., etc.
Social media and the availability of avenues to sort of outrage has led to this situation. We have begun to outrage about everything, and it has given a voice to all these mobs. It has given a reason for mob frenzy, and that the Supreme Court can say what it does, but how can the Supreme Court ensure the safety of the theaters, of the people who go to the theaters, safety of the filmmakers, the people who have made the film? So it is eventually very unsafe, and that has led to this. The ripple effect of that is that studios, platforms.
But you have faced this even before the social media age, right? You have been at the receiving end of your outspoken nature, and even pre-internet, if I remember correctly, the Shiv Sena had an objection to one of your films. Which one was it?
It was Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar. In fact, that was the time when I was not outspoken. And the reason, when people say, okay, he's an outspoken filmmaker, I think I have to thank the Shiv Sena for it.
Will it be actually released in Karnataka? Because we are hearing the producer himself has said, I won't release it because he doesn't want to piss people off. If that is the case, then the Supreme Court judgments do not carry the weight that one would hope they do, right? So as of now, what's the status in Bangalore and Karnataka?
A little bit of context. Thug Life has flopped very miserably. And there have been memes that we've been seeing that Karnataka got saved because of the ban. They weren't subjected to a film as bad as Thug Life. Look, in utopia, yes, bans are terrible. We also agree that it's ridiculously, I think, juvenile to ban a movie because you didn't like something that the actor said. All that aside. Now, I don't think there will be takers for this movie in Karnataka. So even if the Supreme Court does step in and say that you're not allowed to ban, if the distributors, even for commercial reasons, forget the emotional part of it, for commercial reasons, if they say that we don't want to waste our money on this and will not release in Karnataka, there's nothing anybody can do. You can't force them to release it. So one, it is delayed, the judgment, because now people have seen the movie and they're not too keen on, kind of releasing it. And two, there are certain things that you can't go around.
pipeline is corrupted. The thing is that certain films will be allowed to be made, like a Kerala story, a Delhi Files, this files, that file. And therefore, when it's made, it'll go through the entire pipeline, which is controlled by the government in some way or the other, central government, and it'll find a release, right? So one could say that Mamta not allowing it is compensation for other films. Counter views will not be allowed to be made. For example, if today I was to make a film on the Gujarat files, for example, 2002, and my interpretation of how Mr. Modi handled Gujarat, no one's going to put money behind it. I mean, I will not be allowed to shoot. Some say now the other will destroy my set.
The ban was stupid on every level. And we don't endorse ban, even on Kerala story, as much as I want to say that it's a good thing that it was banned to kind of, some sort of balance should be restored in the world. But that said, I don't think banning anything is a good idea. I stand by that. The only point I was trying to make is if your entire thing was to make sure people watch your film, then there are smarter ways of going about it. And look, that's what I was saying. Even now, even if the Supreme Court did say that you have to release the film, if a distributor says, I don't want to take that risk, what are you going to do about it? You can't risk. Because at the end of the day, tomorrow, he will look at multiple factors, right? He'll be worried about people coming and protesting, people probably even theaters might say that it's a security problem, 100 things, right? So Kamal was a little impractical, but I think, look, it's a 10 crore loss at best that he would have incurred if the movie was not released in Karnataka. Okay. But when he stood up for his stance in favor of Tamil, that could have consolidated his support base in Tamil Nadu. That loss could have been very well have made up. So Kamal is a businessman. Let's not forget that. He is shrewd. So,
bas muft mein itna ich milega. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.